Okay. 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 All right. All right. I think that's a pretty good set of stuff for tonight. No, thank you. That's good. I think that's good. Um, so raise your hand if you're not already on our part of our Facebook group. Okay. So I always mention this. We have a very active Facebook group for that's what's that? The best. Yes, and if you're coming tonight from far away, you should always announce it ahead of time on the. We have a very active Facebook group. So anything goes here, from basic questions to up to advanced stuff, and typically a response within a couple of minutes or not, if not sooner. So we love to talk, and we love to talk on this page. So this is. I thought there was a shorter version of the URL for this, but if you're not already on this, send me a message through Facebook and I'll add you. I'll tell you where to go to add you on this group. Welcome. I think we might need one more pizza.
You need to make an email address
for what?
That you need to go to WordPress and make it so you can post the group by sending to an email address.
Into Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You know, if you want to tell me how to do that later, you can tell me offline. Let's get one more pizza before it gets too late, before they start delivering. I think we need one more. We've got Hawaiian veggie, sausage and mushroom, pepperoni. What we need one more kind. Barbecue chicken. We have a veggie coming. Barbecue chicken. All right, let me call them real quick. If you haven't pitched in for pizza, it's $5. I don't think they have barbecue chicken, actually. I think they have. Hi, I've got the order of 4 pizzas coming to Gothard. I need to add one more. Oh, yeah. Do you have a barbecue chicken pizza? Okay, that'd be great. Yeah. Thank you. All right, I think we're good on pizza. I'm done multitasking. Let's talk about some stuff. We're good? Yes.
I'm having a feeling this might be way over my head.
Okay.
I'm here because, my name is Susan and I'm an alcoholic.
Welcome, Susan.
And I heard there's beer coming. So,
there's plenty of beer in the fridge.
Okay.
I'm an enabler.
I was an iWeb person, and I'm a Mac person, and so iWeb was very easy for me.
There's a Squarespace group down the street. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm joking. Go on.
And somebody said, "Oh, WordPress, it's so easy." Well, I've spent at least 10 hours looking at stuff.
Okay. So we have 2 meetups that meet here. So this is our developer day, which is a little bit more advanced.
I didn't know what developer.
That's okay. Our general meetup is at the end of the month, and our next one is. Anybody know when the next general meetup is?
23rd.
23rd. Thank you. I would highly recommend you come to that, but you should stay tonight. You still might gain some things here. And afterwards, we network, and you can feel free to ask any of the developers in the room questions. So if you want to stay, you're welcome to. It may get a little advanced. You may get lost. That's okay. I mean, that's sort of the purpose of this day. Hello, Brandon. Real quick, anybody who hasn't been here before, raise your hand. I'm going to let you introduce yourselves. Keep your hands up, not you. You. Keep your hands up. I'm going to keep you on the spot. Over here. What's your name and what do you do and why are you here?
I work for Savings and SC as their lead graphic designer.
Okay. What's your name? Nathan. Welcome.
Chris Lammer, and I own Savings and SC and they brought me here with me.
Great.
And Rob actually invited me.
Cool. Yep.
I'm Mike. I just moved here from Seattle.
Welcome.
And I've heard good things about this group from Seattle, actually.
Do you know Ben?
What's good about it?
Yes, actually.
We know Ben well.
Cool. Yeah, so I co-own a web design company that does luxury real estate sites and stuff. We use WordPress a lot.
Great. There were some other hands over here. Yep.
Syed, you probably know me, but Dr. Syed we have mapwide.com, mapbusiness.com, maptravel.com. It's the search engine.
Cool.
I'm Susan Pierce. and I'm still not on.
Cool. There's plenty of beer in the fridge. That never gets old.
Okay, and I'm a folk painter, I'm a decorative artist, I do walls, and this could really use a lot of help. And
Oh, wow. It's starting early with this one.
Start out with the stairway, but maybe put some color on there.
You're welcome to come paint if you want.
If you have a nice tip from that. And I do trades. We can talk about that too. But I'm changing from just my site as a folk painter to a couple other things, and I'm having a studio on the hill, and so I'm bringing 3 or 4 emerald landscape groups. I have a 501c3. I want to bring it all on one website. And I have to check out it too, which I couldn't do on my web, so
Okay.
it needs to do a lot of stuff.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Michael Waterman Husband, and I operate a charity. We're called Water Corps. We provide bulk drinking water to the homeless people on Skid Row in Los Angeles. And I also promote right to share food issues with the city of Los Angeles. And I help my dear darling here with her bridal shop.
Cool.
Hi, my name is Dory. I am running a wedding gown business. I'm a fashion designer. And if anyone is getting married, so I'm the person to contact.
Excellent.
I have tried to set up WordPress for many times and failed. So now I'm coming here to learn something. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out if we need one more pizza. Yeah. You think so? One more pepperoni maybe? We'll get it. All right. If you haven't chipped in for pizza, we'll take $5. Let me get one more, and then I think we're good to go. Who needs a beer? There's plenty of beer. Oh, if somebody wants to just make a run for me, there's plenty of beer in the fridge. Bring them out. There's a bottle opener near the fax machine. Go for it. Hi, it's Steve again on the office. I need one more pizza added. One more pepperoni. Thank you. All right. Let's start with the basics. Since Jeff brought it up, and welcome, by the way. Jeff, I know through, if you don't go, there's another group that meets every Saturday morning in town called SMMOC, which is Social Media Mastermind Orange County, which if you don't go to, I highly recommend. What's your group, Jeff? Time OC. Explain that real quick.
Technology Innovators Meetup for Orange County.
Great. Say it again.
Technology Innovators Meetup for Orange County is trying to take together ideas like this and actually make something that makes money and puts out there.
Cool. Excellent. So what was your question again?
Well, I just know that in developing, there's many times several different options as far as tools for the IDE, and I'm just trying to find out what's the one that's recommended to the group here. Is I just want to get started with just Notepad or Notepad++, or is it something more than that?
Oh, you're on that other platform. You're on a PC.
Correct.
Right? I'm asking. Yeah. Okay. So most of the developers in the room are on a Mac. I know that's a bold statement. I'm looking around real quick to make sure that that's still accurate. What's that? All right. So Jeff's asking about development tools, right? So one of the main tools that a lot of people in here use that I've recently converted over to is Coda, which I have up right now, Coda 2. Coda, C-O-D-A. So Coda is a great HTML and PHP editor. What are some other ones that people use in the room? Are we talking Mac or PC or both? We're talking both. NetBeans. NetBeans. Okay.
Is it Eclipse? That's still
Eclipse?
NetBeans is like Eclipse but faster.
Better, faster. On Windows, you've got Edit Plus and Notepad++.
What was the, say it louder?
Edit Plus and Notepad++.
Okay. I used to be a BB Edit guy for many years, way past its prime. I swore by it. Once I saw Coded 2, I switched. It was the first one I've used since I've been using BB Edit for 10 years. So this is to me is the most awesome tool on the Mac. But there's other ones out there.
Actually, even Stephen Carroll's demonstration last meeting with Dreamweaver, the new version of Dreamweaver actually looks pretty good.
Yeah.
If you got a free copy.
It'll cost you. Is anybody using TextMate anymore? Is that?
I know Brandon uses Sublime.
Sublime? I'm not familiar with that.
That's a Miami based really.
I know that Sublime. Sublime?
Did you say part of the is right, Brandon?
Don't practice Santeria.
Sublime text too.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So those are some of the HTML editors that people are using in the room. One of the other tools I'm going to show in a minute is Tower for managing your Git repository. So your code repositories you can use either through command line or there are several GUI tools out there for code repos. I use Tower. That's just the one I prefer. There's another one out there that I used to use called SmartGit, which is on both Mac and PC. What are some of the other? Does Tortoise make a? What's on the PC for Tortoise? Okay, and then for project management sites, code repositories. Personally, my preference has always been Assembler, or has been Assembler for quite a while now. That's both project management software and code repo built into one. There's several code repositories out there: GitHub, Bitbucket.
Did you see what happened with GitHub, man?
GitHub got funded, right? Yeah. GitHub, Bitbucket. What are some other ones? What is it? Gitorious? Okay. Most of the people, again, I'm generalizing, but a lot of people in the room use Git for their code repository. You might find some people who are still on SVN. Those are the two main code repository systems out there. There's some other ones. There's definitely more than those two, but those are the two main ones we talk about. WordPress is still it's a big SVN repo. So if you're going to do anything with Shredder, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you're going to do anything with contributing to WordPress core, you'd have to know how to use SVN.
Yeah. Well, you can also contribute using Git, but yeah.
Okay, but WordPress as a whole is run on SVN as their repo.
It is, yes, but there's an official mirror that is on GitHub.
Okay.
So what do you guys mostly do? Mostly plugins, themes, what's the
I think it's a lot of everything here. So raise your hand if you write plugins. And raise your hand if you're writing themes. Yeah. You know.
What else do you do? What else is it?
What else is there?
Yeah.
Guys that just like I can say I have a plugin, but I know how to tweak the plugin, I know how to tweak the theme, I show people how to use it.
There's that. There's support, so we can lump that all under sort of WordPress support. There's project management. There's content creation.
Yeah.
Design. Designers. Raise your hand in the room. Designers.
There's a lot of front end development too.
Yeah. CSS. CSS. The theme is sort of both CSS, PHP, depending on how extensive your theme is, and HTML. Sorry, and JavaScript, and sliders, and whatever else. It depends on it really is theme specific. And then for design, it's Photoshop. Core development, right? Shredder in the back room is a core contributor for WordPress.
Yeah, if you have any questions, if anyone has any questions about contributing to core, let me know.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah, the core was the source list.
Shredder, explain what that means.
Basically, it's contributing. I mean, WordPress is an open source project, so that means they welcome contributions of code from anybody. You can help build WordPress, which then the new version gets sent out to everybody. Over 70 million sites yet. Yeah. So it's very cool, and it's a good way to get involved and get to know a lot of people who know a lot about WordPress.
Not just code, not just code too, right? Not just code too, right?
That's right, not just code. It could be testing, it could be, well, I mean, we were talking about core contributions, but there are other types of contributions too, yeah, of course. Language, internationalization, rural, I don't have those in front of me, but support and CSS and JavaScript, all the sorts of things going on.
Shredder's day job is at DreamHost, so one of the other specialties that we didn't really talk about is sort of the whole hosting side of things. And I don't consider myself an expert in it, but one of the things that I offer at Zeek that I've sort of fallen into is scalability. You know, it's one of the things that we just sort of have to do for our clients. We're by no means experts in it, but we know enough to be dangerous. So, I mean, that's an honest answer. So, does that help?
Absolutely.
Okay. You weren't talking about actually going and setting up like a WordPress site. We were really just talking about general.
Yeah,
I think,
I've done that.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the next level, which is I want to make my own blog.
Okay. I think we're going to cover. I think we're going to cover how to make a plugin in Brandon and Eric's talk. So I'm going to skip that for now. What I wanted to talk about is sort of the basics of setting up a Git repository. We talk about that a lot in here, but I think when we talk about it, we always sort of jump ahead a step as if it's already sort of set up and you're already up and running. And I went through the process today with both Desktop Server and Tower and Assembla of just sort of setting up a Git repo from the ground up. And I just want to go through that process really quick. Is that going to be helpful to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I actually have part presentation and part question because I got stuck at one point. So I'll let you know when that happens. If you're not using it already, one of the products that we've talked about in the past 2 meetups is Desktop Server, which is amazing. So this is specifically if you're using anything like XAMPP, WAMP, MAMP right now. This sort of replaces that. It's a GUI front end for XAMPP is what this is. So this is specifically built for setting up WordPress. What was that? Specifically built for setting up WordPress your local environment from scratch. But it saves you a lot of steps that you can do inside of MAMP and WAMP. We've talked about it here a lot, so I'm not going to elaborate. But this is definitely a worthwhile product if you're not using this already. As soon as I saw this demo, I bought it the next day. I haven't looked back. This has saved me a ton of time. And the guy who makes it is extremely helpful. He's part of our Facebook group. He's always willing to answer questions. So what I was going to do here is just start from scratch. As if I have nothing yet. I have no Git repo set up. I have no site. I'm starting with nothing. All right. And everybody knows I prefer Assembla, but what I'm about to show applies to whether you're using GitHub, Bitbucket, or any other site for a code repository. So on Assembla, the way you add new code repos is it's got an admin panel. And inside the tools, you just go ahead and add another. I'm just adding another Git repo here. So again, this process is a little bit different if you're on something like GitHub, but it's very similar. So in Assembla, all I do is add another. I've now got my Git 3. That's my empty repository that I just set up. I'm going to go ahead and give it a name. We'll call it Git test. So with Assembla, it gives you a set of instructions if you're using command line. I'm going to skip these for now. But now I've got my empty code repo on Assembla. Okay? So this is just an empty code repo waiting for me to check something into it on my code site. So am I too far along in the process for anybody? Do I need to go back and review on what this is that I just did? Does everybody understand this part? I know you're looking at me funny, but we'll see you back here in 2 weeks. All right, so I've got my code repo ready to go. The other tool I'm going to use here is Tower. Again, remember Tower is my GUI front end for managing my Git repositories. Before I go there, I'm going to go back over to desktop server. Let's open up the folder here. Websites. Okay, so in desktop server, I'm going to go ahead and just create a brand new empty WordPress site that's ready to go and check into Git. Okay. Again, if you're using MAMP or WAMP, this is a bit of a different process. Desktop server sort of does all the initial WordPress setup for you. So we'll go ahead and call this Git Test 2.
Slide.
Go figure.
It's just for you.
Yeah.
It's just reinforcement on text anyways.
So if you see over here, this folder, it's desktop server's just created this folder for me and created my WordPress site. So that's there ready to go. All right. So that's all desktop server did. Click next. Now it's giving me a link onto my local machine. Go ahead and set up WordPress. I'm not going to do that just yet. So all I've got is basically just a fresh, empty WordPress site. Nothing's set up yet. It's ready to check in again now. I've got some code ready to go. Make sense so far? Okay. Exactly. The only thing that's sitting in that folder right now is WordPress. I don't have a Git folder in there yet, and that's what this process I'm about to do does. So nothing's actually connected to the Git repo until you set up a Git folder and then connect it up there. Okay. So there's you wouldn't see it in the folder structure anyway because it's a hidden directory. But what I'm about to do is going to install a little .git folder in my WordPress directory. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is in Tower, I'm clicking Create Local Repository. Tell it where I want this this Git to be. Okay. Git Test 2. We'll call it. That's really annoying. Call Git Test 2 and then click OK. Nice. So there's my repository. When I go inside of here, it's saying that all of my files here are new. It's a fresh repo. Nothing's been checked in yet. That's what all those question marks are. So it's basically saying these are all files ready to be checked in. Nothing's been done yet. Okay, so all I've done here is just created I've knitted a little Git folder in my website. Make sense? That's all it's done. That's all it's done today. So I can either connect it up now to the Git repo or check it in locally and then connect it up. So what I'm going to do here is just stage everything and we'll commit all of our files. So I stage it. I'm clicking commit. I'm going to call it initial check-in. Okay. All this is doing is just committing locally. Hasn't pushed anything up yet. Click OK. Everything's committed and ready to go. Now I need to connect my local directory up to Assembler. Okay, so that's sort of the last step in this process. Is this making sense so far? Stop me if you have questions. Good. For the first time. No, that was actually it was self-deprecating.
Steve, here's a question.
Yep.
When you're doing this, are you doing your WP content? Are you doing just the feed?
I'm going to talk about getting Door in a minute. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so what I've done here is I've copied the URL of my Git repo, which was created in Assembler. So I clicked copy here. Inside of Tower, what I want to do is add a remote directory, add a remote repository. So that's sort of the step that connects the two things together. So everything I've done so far under branches is local. So the Git repo is initted, it's ready to go, it's committed, everything's local. Now I need to push it up to remote. So what I'm going to do here is right click on remote, and I'm going to choose add remote repository. Okay. We will give it a name called origin. Give it the remote path that I just copied. I've already got my local machine connected up to Assembler, so I don't need a password. This may be a little bit different depending on what site you're on, but if I click Add, so there's my remote repository right there that I just called Origin. So now it's linked. Now to push it there, all I do is take this master branch and drag it to Origin. See that? It says publish.
Do you have to do that manually each time you're done? Or is there a way that, I mean, I'm not going to use TowerSound on Mac, isn't there a way that you just hit
the push? Once what I did is I just linked them. Now I can click, from here on out I can click push.
Okay, so the first time you have to do that,
yes.
Now that you're now working on this site, you can just hit publish and it just does it.
Yeah, push.
Push.
Yeah.
You just do the first initial part of it.
Yep. That's it. I just pushed all my code up to Assembler. So if I go back here and look at Assembler, I'll click Browse. There's my code. So everything's now linked between the two. So now I've got my Git repo in it. I've got it pushed. I'm all set to go.
You from there and say, hey Dave, I'm going to start working with you on it. Here's the link to the Assembler repository.
Yeah. All I have to do is give him that link. I'll get his private key and add to Assembler so he can talk to Assembler, and then he's set to go. Yes, Jason. Oh, okay. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say I'm Dave, which I'd never want to be, but let's say I'm Dave. We love Dave. So let's say I'm Dave. I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. We'll delete it. Okay. Because now I'm Dave, I want to clone a copy of that site to my local machine so I can work on it. Here's the part. Here's the question part of this. Okay. And I asked Steve and Carol this today. How do I clone into desktop server? I mean, I know how to do it manually, and I'm going to talk about that, but I don't know the way to easily clone into desktop server, because desktop server maintains its own folders. If I clone, I'm going to overwrite what desktop server did. If I clone first and then add desktop server, it's going to overwrite what I checked out. Does anybody know?
Yeah. I don't know your follow that, because when you use a desktop server, it just creates it. The logical step would be go over to the tower first and pull all the files down, and then tell the desktop server to look in that folder.
It doesn't work.
The desktop server doesn't have that functionality.
That's right.
The other way around. You create a desktop server, and then just delete what's in that folder.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
The problem is, if you have something like a local config, then that's like, unless you have the identical setup as Dave, then it's not going to work.
Right. So let's talk about cloning first. Let's forget about desktop server for a moment. If I'm Dave, okay, right. I'm Dave. Now I've said, okay, Dave, here's the repo. You've got access. I want you to work on these pieces. What he'll do is he'll go into Assembler, copy the URL, go into Tower. He'll clone the repository. Okay. And I'm going to clone it to.
You just pick a folder.
I'm just, yeah. Typically, when you're cloning, you're going to create a new one. That's typically. What's that?
Has to be an empty.
Has to be an empty folder. That's the problem. Desktop server puts some files and some hidden files into the folders. So I'm cloning.
Did Steve answer you on that? Or?
He hasn't yet. I'll get back into the Facebook group when he does. Now I'm ready to go. So there's my files. I'm all checked out. This folder called Dave, and now I've got a copy of that repository. I can make my changes and then push them back up.
Of course, it'll take a hell of a lot longer to set and already have a whole bunch of images uploaded.
Yeah.
It is going to pull out everything.
It is.
I'm assuming there's ways inside the tower to tell to ignore certain stuff.
That's a great segue, and Greg had a great segue too. So let's talk about ignoring right now. Okay. I've cloned. Here's my site. Let's say I really don't want to include the README file or the license. Okay. Take that off of the camera, Jason, because we don't want Matt seeing that. But so let's go ahead and exclude those two files from the get repo. Okay. So if I look back on assembly here, here's the license, here's the README file. In Tower, if I wanted to get rid of these files or just keep them outside the repo, what you do is just click Control. You control click it and then say ignore. You have to make sure this box is checked. This is a kind of special git command that gets executed. So untrack this already tracked file. If you're doing this through command line, it's going to be a little bit tricky. Just by adding it to get ignore, it doesn't work. If a file is already tracked, it still keeps it in the Git repository. So you have to, if you're using a GUI tool, it'll typically have this kind of a thing. So you have to make sure you say specifically, don't track this file anymore. All right. So we're going to untrack README. You can see now I've got it's basically it's got an alteration to the README file and an alteration to get ignore that it wants to check in. Okay. I'm going to check those. Commit. Now I can just push. If I go back in and reload my assembly space, watch readme.html. Now it's gone. Cool stuff. So if you're working with large image files, you probably get to ignore that stuff. Typically, the files that I ignore, and this process that I just went through, I set up a git ignore before I even initialize a git repo. So the three things I always have in there are htaccess. I don't commit that to the repo. wp-config, and then uploads. I just ignore the whole uploads folder. So that way, if I have a bunch of images that are on the website and I need to go in and check some stuff in on the server, I'm ignoring all those large files. htaccess and wp-config are typically going to be server specific, so I keep those out of the repo on purpose. And then I'll just set those up on the servers that I'm deploying on. That's what I do by default. Make sense? Okay. So Dave's gone in and made some changes. Let's go ahead and we'll make that change here. So if I'm just viewing my modified files, this shows me the change that was made inside of the code. It's ready to be staged. Okay? Go ahead and stage it. Commit it. We'll push it. And now Dave's changes are up on the server. So the next poll that I do will bring in those set of changes and comparing changes that I've done and I push those back up. So now my Git system's all set up to go. That's all I had on that. Making sense? So, let's go back to desktop server. So the problem here is, hey, will you take care of him? You take care of him. Anything extra, just keep it. Yep.
There's big support in code too, right?
Anybody else that didn't pitch in for pizza before we pay the man? Okay. Thank you. Say it again?
There's big support in code too, right? Can you play around with that at all?
Give it to Brandon that side. Thank you. I haven't played around with it.
The problem is so it's like power.
I haven't played around with it at all.
What was
It's there, but it's just like a file by file holding. So you can't say I want like these 3 lines committed and just these files committed. It's like here, just commit everything or don't. It's like big full peak.
It's pretty limited. Yeah.
That's what I've seen so far.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll get better, but
yeah.
Okay.
It's a big vision.
So here's the issue with desktop servers. So let's call this Dave.dev. That's going to be my local URL. If I go to desktop server and say, you know, this doesn't exist in the desktop server database, so I want to create this new site. We'll call it Dave. I go to create it. It's going to give me an error. It says this folder already has some stuff in it. Do you want to overwrite it? And I don't, because I just checked it out. So what I do manually is I just go ahead and rename the folder for a minute, check out or create something new in desktop server, and then drag those files back in. No, I got it wrong. I set it up in desktop server first, rename that folder, check out, and then take my configuration files that were specifically created by desktop server and put those files into the folder I just checked out. That's my workaround. I'll see if Stephen Carroll says something different, but I think that's really where things are right now. So.
Would you then add those files or directories to what?
The only files I'm going to be taking are htaccess and wp-config, which typically I've already ignored.
I mean, desktop server config files that goes in that directory.
I don't think there are any. I don't think there are any specific desktop server files in a directory. Not that I've seen. I didn't find any hidden files. It just creates the specific WordPress files that you need.
Okay.
It's maintaining its own internal database for what's sitting there.
You should be able to just create an empty desktop server settings, and then delete all of that and clone your repository.
It creates a DS store file, and so you do have to know a little bit of command line to go ahead and delete those hidden files or show hidden files or yeah. So you're right, it's a Mac thing. Any other questions on this stuff before we get some pizza? Yeah.
Is this outside of your tutorial? So if I wanted to use
this whole tutorial is outside of my tutorial.
How do you connect Git or assembler to an already in production website? And then be able to pull that down to desktop server and work on something.
The way I do that is I'll typically go through either an FTP program or something else. I'll just drag the entire website down into a local folder
first,
and then go through this process. Initialize a Git repo and then check it in.
So at that point, then you're not really using Git to push it to the site then.
Well, I can if I go to the site then and make a new Git and basically initialize a new Git. No, Dave's right. We got to clone. So I'm basically going to overwrite. I'm going to go to the site, rename the existing directory, create a new one, clone the Git repo. Basically, I'm cloning whatever's already there. It depends. It depends.
But what you could do if you wanted is say it's like some cheeky hosting account, pull down the sites the files over FTP. It was something I wanted to work on Dave with. Pull it down off the live site, pull down my machine, stick it in Git, and work on it. We can work on it together. And then, it would suck, but then after everything's done and working through it in desktop server, take the files out and Git manually.
That could be part of your deployment strategy. So you guys are working on the site locally, and you can have as many copies as you want. That doesn't affect the production server. When you're ready to go live, you don't even go through Git. You go through traditional FTP at that point. It's kludgy, but it works. Yeah.
And it's still not cowboy coding it.
No, because you're working outside of the production environment. So, yeah, I mean, the way you're describing, besides the FTP part of the process, is how we work on all of our sites. So everything we work on is all local machine until we're ready to go to a staging server, which isn't even production server yet. No. Any other questions on this before we? Yeah. There are none. Just stupid people. I was talking about myself.
Okay, well, I actually played opposite, and I heard you talk about not grabbing that uploads folder. So, and I didn't see all the setup, so I'm gonna have to go back and figure out yet, and that's okay.
It's okay, here.
But I'm looking at a really big site, and it's got a lot of MP3s on it, and after I updated 3.4, I had a bunch of stuff break in a piece of software. And anyway, but I wondered if I could work on the site without bringing the uploads folder that has all the MP3s, because I was afraid it was going to have stuff broken in the database.
You're gonna need a little bit of command line expertise. So you have, and I know, I'm sorry, but when you're working on the server, you don't have these GUI tools. So I'm going to show you inside a tower how to do it, but really what you need to do is you're going to have to talk to somebody about executing these commands through.
I've used Turbo numerous times. Not through all the times that makes me nervous.
Okay. So, but essentially, I just went into this new site that I have, and I have an uploads folder. Okay. So all I'm doing here is just I'm going to ignore uploads. That's it. So one of the things I said is the 3 things I ignore by default when I set up any new Git repo is htaccess, wp-config, and Priscilla, and uploads, and cat.
It's a rough crowd.
And uploads. Those are the 3 things that I ignore, and that way I'm not, committing all of that big uploads folder to my Git repo, unless I need to. Okay. What I did recently is we just moved the site from one server to the other one, and we did that through Git. So uploads was ignored. We took it out of ignore on purpose, put all the images into the Git repo, moved it, and then re-ignored over on the new server, just so we could get the move done.
Okay. Well, that makes sense not to use uploads. I don't know how to resolve the screwing up the database thing, but one thing at a time. I haven't done this yet.
Okay.
That's the thing, your WordPress database is not in Git.
Well,
your WordPress database is not in Git.
Let's talk about that. Yes, you're right. Normally, your WordPress database is not part of your code repo. What we do for a lot of our larger sites is we have a nightly or even more often MySQL dump. So we have a cron script set up that will actually dump the database to a separate Git repository. And then it runs the Git processes for uploading it to a Git repo. So we're actually maintaining, on some of our larger sites, a separate Git repository just for the database backups. And that's how we're running our database backups. So, and it runs super fast. So it's just a cron script that run once or twice a day. MySQL dump, git add, git commit, and then git push. It just runs us through shell script. I know I'm making it sound simple,
I
but
don't understand it, but I'm not as afraid anymore.
Okay.
Well, basically,
I'm going to show you.
You have to convert your WordPress database into a file in the file system that can be then put into your repository. That's all it's doing. Make it a file.
So there's what we're doing. So Priscilla, those are nightly database backups that are just being committed to a Git repo through a pretty simple shell script.
You know what's cool about that is now you can go and pick which one you want. So if you need to go back because you screwed something up royally, just go back.
I was just talking with my client tonight about making well, hell, we can back up this database in 15 minutes if you want, I mean, this guy's a psycho.
All right, any other, yes, Jeff?
That's a full backup each time, that's not a transaction.
That's a full database backup, and then we zip it. So we do a database backup, we zip it as part of the process, so it's compressed, and then we commit it to the Git repo.
That's not a space now?
Oh, sure it is. But I mean, this is for a large client.
I'm saying on the non-flexible side, that's what we want to actually
We could, but this way it's easy. If we need to get in there really quick and restore, we just go to the last backup that we know is working, and we're there.
And how many do you keep? Is there a point where you
Actually, too many. How's that for an answer? Since November, on a day since November, so 6 months. Too many. I don't think we're actually ever cleaning out. So we probably could. If I spend the time, I'll probably go in and say just keep 30 days. But we've got the space. I don't care. It's all in the cloud, right? That's how it works these days. It doesn't matter. It's not my server, right? Yeah, infinite space. No, this is actually up in the cloud somewhere. All right.
Anything else on this before we grab pizza? All right, pizza's in the hall, beer's in the fridge. Help yourself. We'll take a 15-minute break. Give to. Oh, okay.
I don't know if I've changed it. I think I gave it back. I don't change it. I don't get it.
Facebook. Give me a minute.
We'll talk about it.
Real me go?
The next demo.
Yeah.
We do have
Here we go. Look at that. Look at that.
let's just update the opportunity tab.
Right there. Right there.
I added a couple of these and they changed the name from ID to the email address.
So this allows email posts.
Yeah, you can email to that and send
Look at that. Look at that. Cool. Cool. All right. All right.
try that, the beginner side.
Okay, it's on the 23rd.
Okay.
That's the general meetup. Yeah. July 23rd. Okay. Perfect. What's that?
Suzette Green has another.
Yeah.
She's sitting back there. Suzette Green. She has the.
It's on. It's next Wednesday. It's next Wednesday. I'll listen to you. This is 2011. We're not getting started again. Sweet theme, dude. What is it? It's kicking ass. That's what it is. What's that? Yeah. All right. Less pressure on me.
What's your specialty?
I am a developer who makes plugins, themes, whatever, since about 2004. Yeah, one of the guys walking around with a mobile shirt. Also, he's here at the meeting. Oh, okay. Almost does time. Okay. Oh, yeah. Awesome. What do you guys do? Okay.
Recently,
Sure.
Now SEO were really but the sites themselves, we have to figure out this is like directory
It's gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna show it to you. I'm gonna show it to you once I that's part of it.
So, there was another group that meets in town that I forgot to announce at the beginning. Suzette, will you talk about your group real quick?
Hey, Suzette, and every month on the third Wednesday, we have WordPress Wednesdays, and it is a group of graphic designers that want to get into WordPress, want to talk developer speak. Anybody who wants to learn more about WordPress, but geared more towards graphic designers. And Steve is going to be speaking about user interface and user experience on next week. So you probably want to do that one. If you go to Meetup and do a search for WordPress countries, it'll come up. It's OCWPWD. But it'll come up under WordPress.
OCWPWD.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. It's a long letter. Yeah. All right, I'm going to let Brandon introduce himself.
I'm not starting to like at least half a minute.
All right. I'll do my best. I'll get some small people off the screen.
All right, everybody can get started. Why? Talking about you. Okay, so I am Brandon Dove. I am half of Pixador. That guy was that's Jeffrey. And we build custom WordPress sites, themes, plugins. Occasionally we work on WordPress core. And that's kind of, we these awesome shirts that you may see some awesome people in the audience wearing. That's what I'm talking about. We happen to put on the WordCamp Orange County event. So it's a full day event about WordPress, just like this, it's a full day. The brain gets real fuzzy. It's awesome. It's awesome. So we eat, sleep, breathe, live WordPress, and we love it. So that's who I am. Okay, so one of the things that I've been kind of interested in lately is permalinks. How many of you guys know what permalinks are? Awesome. That's good. So something that is like always confused me about WordPress permalinks is, first of all, like how they work at all. Obviously everything comes to the same file and it routes it all over the place based on what's in the URL. Really how to take advantage of what those URLs can do and extend WordPress by using other URLs, tie into that whole URL system. I sort of did an experiment because I saw something on, there it was. So if you don't follow this blog and you use WordPress, you want to know more about WordPress, how to get involved with WordPress, I highly recommend there's a series of sites on WordPress.org that revolve around making WordPress. So you just go to make.wordpress.org. There's a ton of different sites you can subscribe to. This one sort of rounds everything up, but if you're into accessibility, UI, plugins, themes, translation, how WordPress.org works by itself, WP Devel is like the main development site, but you can get to any of those sites right from here, make.wordpress.org. I highly recommend subscribing to like anything that interests you here, because you'll know everything before lots of people know it. If you're interested in putting your voice in WordPress, this is the place to sort of see what people are talking about, and you can get involved by commenting on these individual blogs. It's a really great way to be involved. But I digress. This blog post, written a couple weeks ago, actually about a month ago now, was on this rewrite endpoints API, and like that sounds like complete madness to me. I don't know what that really means until I really looked at this and started playing around with it. But basically, an endpoint of a URL is basically, let's see if we can find an example. It lets you, whenever you go to WordPress or whatever your site is.com / whatever your page name is, that page name is an endpoint, but you can also have things extend beyond that. So if you want to have a different sort of formatting for a page, like you want to give it a new feed, right? Or you want to give any sort of additional display of that individual page, you can add to it with this endpoint API. And so I started tinkering around with ways you could use it, and I created a little plugin that sort of demonstrates one usage. Have I lost everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. I'm way in. Okay. All right. So, how many of you guys know what trunk is?
There you lost.
All right. So WordPress trunk is the active development version of WordPress. It's not the stable version. In fact, it's quite the opposite. But it's a place where you can see exactly what is the latest possible commit from the WordPress core team. So that's what I'm running here. But basically, this is all running off my laptop and we're on the road, just a local version. So the first thing I did was I just created a little plugin. I actually pulled a lot of code from here, from this blog post. So if you look for rewrite endpoints API make WordPress, you'll probably get here and you'll see, and that's actually inside the plugin. Yes?
If you don't run a local server,
yes,
but you do have a hosting account that allows you to have lots of stuff,
yes,
I've created a few that will just, is there a way to create this so it's not really being seen outside, but you're interacting with it on your...
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of plugins that will let you turn off all access except for people who are logged in.
Okay.
So I think there's one called like private only or private blog or something like that. That tends to work real good. But all the code is either from this page, it literally is taken like from all of this, all this code. But there's inside the plugin, and I'll make this freely available for everybody too. But there's this. Basically, it's almost what I have here. I changed some things to make it work, but this is a plugin you could download and set into motion on your own site and play around with it if you wanted to. So most of the code exists. I didn't create it all from scratch. I just kind of knocked around with it a little bit. So what I did was I used, okay, so there's this plugin that I have called Pluginception, which is there. And all this plugin does is it adds this new menu under plugins called Create New Plugin. You can see where it's going here, right? Yeah. So all it does is it gives you the fields that are required to create your own plugin. So if you give it a name, this one can be called CWP Awesome. And then just click blank plugin and it pops you right into the editor and you can start hacking away and totally take your site down. So that's how I started this. So automate it, right? So it's totally dangerous. And if you're doing this on a live site, don't. But you can create plugins. If you have some like tested bit of code that you know works, you could do that and plop it in its own plugin and be off and running. So what it actually did was it created this plugin in this OCWP awesome directory, OCWP-awesome, and it activated it. So this is an active plugin on my site. It doesn't do anything yet, but that's how I got started anyways. So what I created was this plugin called OCWP Endpoint API, right there, so I'm about to activate. And what this plugin does is it creates a custom post type called OCWP-member. And again, this code, I literally took, it's all commented here. I took the code from some website. I didn't create that by any means. But it basically just makes a basic custom post type, just like a post or anything like that. I filled in some details here, and I have, it has archive just so we can look at that in a little bit. What I did is, when I hooked into this, hooks and filters, anyway, not know what they are? Okay, so WordPress has the concept of hooks and filters. One of the key events in WordPress loading a page is init. So I created this function to register the post type, blah, 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 all that stuff. And the key line that we want to look at is this one here. That's all it takes to add a rewrite, an endpoint to the custom post type. So what this is saying is, add this endpoint, go-blog. So whenever you look at a single page or a single post of the OCWP member post type, if you type in go-blog at the end of it, something's going to happen. We're about to find out. But it's hooking into this here, this EP_permalink. Now, this is baffling. Seriously, they came up with these numbers for the sake of longevity, I guess, but essentially, there are these unique like numbers. These is what they actually equate out to. Again, weird, right? So EP_permalink roughly equates to anything that has like your standard post permalink, like a date or basically any permalink. It's basically, well, these only work if you have pretty permalinks turned on. So if you have question marks, they will not work. Permalink basically applies to almost anything. Attachments, EP under attachment, if you want to add an endpoint to just the attachment, you can do that there. Just date-based ones, just year-based ones, only pages, or everything under the sun is EP all. And you can do this kind of thing too. So EP permalink and EP attachments, so all posts are attachments, or these are all dates. So you can combine them based on what you need. But for my example, so the premise of what I wanted to do was create a custom post type and add something to the end of it where I could target that endpoint and send it to a remote destination, right? So the goal was to create a custom post type that has a blog meta thing to it, which I'll show you. And when you click on that, or when you go to that URL, it will go to their blog. So did I lose everybody yet? I'm sort of talking fast, sorry. Okay, so inside of my custom post type, right now I've got two entries, one for myself and one for my esteemed colleague Jeffrey. And the only thing that's different about this than a post is that I've got this custom metadata down here for a blog URL. So it's just a custom field. I'm using, in this case, Bill Erickson and Jared Atchison's custom metadata library. So I'll walk through that code in a minute. But basically, it's just a text field that accepts anything really, but we're looking for a blog URL here. So I put in brandingdub.com here. And otherwise it looks just like any other post type. So I've got this editor in here, and I've got this meta information. And what this basically allows me to do is once, actually, okay, so when I'm looking at the site, this is the front end. I've got this is the archive of all of my custom post type entries. So you'll see up at the top, horn honking me Jeff. So you'll see it's got both Jeffrey and myself. Nothing special, again, it's just listing things out. But what I have, that's totally me, he's awesome. So now what I have is I've used the filter to filter the content. I've added this for every one of these custom post types. So it just says visit my blog and it links it up. And if you look at the URL down here, it says LCWP-member, go-blog. So that go-blog, that's my endpoint. I don't need to specify anything other than go-blog. And because I'm looking at a single view, Brandon Dub, on the site, it's going to map that to this specific custom post type. So when I click this, it's going to go to that URL, but if you look at what the resulting URL is up here, it goes to brandonweb.com. So, magic, right?
That's an old picture of you, isn't it?
Yeah. Thanks, appreciate that. But so basically what that did is it all I've done is I have this URL that I can do something with. Whatever it is, I don't know. It's totally up to you to decide what you want to do with it. But again, I made it redirect to a new site. So let's look at how I did that. So I got this here is where I created the MetaBox stuff. Like I said, I use this custom MetaBoxes class that somebody else wrote, and this is all it takes for me to get that single blog URL entry in there. And then, in order to actually figure out what to do with that, what to do with the go-blog, there's this action here called template redirect. Has anybody used this? No. So template redirect runs on every request of WordPress, and it's basically it's when it's determining what WordPress template within your theme to use. And so basically what we're doing is we're injecting our own function to check what we want to do with every template URL first. And if we catch the one that we want, which in this case, let me see if we catch the WP query variable go-blog, that's essentially what gets set up when you do the endpoint, when you add an endpoint. It creates a query variable that you can catch. We're also catching to see if it's a singular view. So if I'm looking at the detailed view of a custom post type. And I did one more check here at the end to see if they have a blog link assigned to them. So if they don't have all those parameters, it just returns and does whatever WordPress does by default. So by default, it won't do anything unless you hook in to catch what you want. So if it passes all those tests, it comes in and it runs this blog redirect function I created, which is here. And basically, this is the crux right here of how to redirect it. I'm using a built-in WordPress redirect function, and I'm just getting the post meta for a blog link. Now, this is sort of a quick test, but it has real-world applications. Actually, I have a client that they have vendors, and each vendor has like a store link and a blog and a regular site, portfolio site, whatever. So So right now we're linking to an external script that finds out all, basically finds out this exact information and does some tracking on it and redirects it. But it's not WordPressy, it's kind of ugly. And so this is how we're going to be changing it. But one thing I've done in here, which I completely skipped over, is this whole bit of code right here is basically tracking it's tracking the click. So when somebody clicks that and we're about to redirect them, before we redirect them, I set another meta key for basically midnight on this day. So I have an aggregate number of clicks on this specific post per day, without having to have any other stats or anything like that. I know how many people have clicked that. Now I can extend this. This is actually what we use in AdSanity. Which is another plugin we built. But basically, all this is doing is storing data. So you have to have some sort of interface to view that. But again, another way to track data without having to then go to a third-party app to figure out how many times I clicked. So that's there. Right here is where I actually inject that link into the content of a post. I'm filtering the content, and I'm returning all the content plus this visit my blog link. So if you look here, I'm not using any query variables or anything fancy or exciting, no merging of data or anything like that. As long as they have that data, and I'm looking at the single view, and it's a member post type, I'm adding this, and the web browser is going to translate that into the full link / go-blog, and it's going to redirect and do all its magic. The only other thing that sometimes can be tricky about doing anything with permalinks in WordPress is that when you create those endpoints or create any sort of different permalinks, it doesn't know by default. WordPress caches them. So you have to tell it to manually flush the rewrite rules, so it will recreate all the rewrite rules. You do not want to do this on every page load. It will cripple your site, especially if you have lots and lots of content. So when this plugin is activated, it's running this init function, which, if you remember from back at the top, is registering our custom post type, and it's adding the rewrite endpoint. And then once that's all done, then it's flushing the rewrite rules. So it's regenerating everything so WordPress knows how to handle those new endpoints that you created. And also, it's really nice to do, but obviously not required, but when you deactivate the plugin to flush the rewrite rules again, because it's going to speed up WordPress. The fewer rewrite rules you have, the faster WordPress can interpolate those. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, it's plug-inception. It's one word. I will show it here. Yeah, exactly. Actually, it's funny. Hold on.
Is it a repository?
It is. If you just search WordPress.org for plug-inception, right about there. Oh, not there. Let's see.
I can't tell if it's free or not.
Yeah, no, it's never going to stop spinning. So that's how you spell it right there, plug-inception.
Let's discuss it for hours.
We should.
I would think the same thing.
Yeah. So a good way to break your site is this plugin. Yeah, this is a cool plugin by Otto. And yeah, any other questions? Yes, thank you.
So, looking at the template redirect.
Yes.
Hook action thing there. So you kind of get your grasp on where that and the endpoint definition kind of come together. Because it looks to me
Like you could kind of herky-jerky make your template code just look at the URL.
Yep.
Figure out what it wants to do.
Absolutely.
So the endpoint registration thing just makes that a little easier.
Yeah, so like I had in my code here, it's literally like one line of code to add that endpoint. So this is all it takes, and it takes some niceties. It takes into account some niceties. So first of all, the wrapper functions are doing exactly what you're saying. You can definitely go about doing this by there's functions called like add query variable. You can add a variable by hand, and then you can check for it by hand. This sort of gives you a nice clean way to add that. But I think the big benefit of this is being able to mask it to certain types of pages. Like I said, you can't say I just want this one custom post type, because there are some predefined perma structures that they use. But it does give you the ability to chop off a big portion of those if you're doing a certain type of thing. So if, for example, the example they use in this post is to output a JSON version of your post for like an API. So another way you could use this is like an API call. They use JSON just to output it. Again, it's another way to do it, but I was trying to look for something more practical, I guess, for what we're using it for and that kind of stuff. But I mean, really, the possibilities, a lot like what WordPress is, are pretty endless. So yeah, it just makes it nice and clean to use this function, I think. There's actually a whole lot of like really nice wrapper functions like this. So I can find where it is. One of the things that they have as an example was like a gallery for just a specific post. So if you're looking at, wanting to see all the images for a post or whatever, you could add a gallery endpoint and see just that content. So if you look on this page, this is on the codex, the WP rewrite class. You'll see there's a ton of like this is another one, add rewrite tag, generate rewrite rule. All of these are basically nice utility functions that you can use to create different kinds of permalinks and things like that on your site, like deal with different kinds of data. Turn WordPress, rather than just like a blog or a CMS, into something that you can deliver content in different formats. I think that's the real power of that, of the endpoints anyways, is being able to provide an output of data that's not a standard template. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just a blog post entry, here it is, or it's not just a page. It's now a specific part of that post or page. So this will provide you with tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of different rewrite type stuff. And yeah, I mean, really, like, I think that for us, it's going to open up a really nice new way to sort of handle URLs rather than adding query variables to them and stuff like that. Which Eric was what I was going to talk about with your thing. I think you could do something like that, or add an endpoint and catch it, set a cookie, and then you track them, and now you can then check for that cookie throughout the person's page.
So I got that part, but how would you go? I think you just, where would you put the query to check?
Sorry.
You're trying to do.
Yeah.
So if you go to a page, if you go to like an individual person would have a link they share with their friends. And if they go to that site, at the top it would load in almost like what looks like the WordPress admin bar, but it would be branded with their information. So it would say, this page sponsored by Eric Say, and maybe a code or something like that. This is that, because it'll give, I can say whatever.com/ the username,
Right.
But how do I get from the username that I've got using the endpoint system? How do I get taking the user to tell it to look it up in WordPress users?
Yeah, so I think
each user has its own ID, so you
yeah.
just look up the ID and pull the profile information out of it.
Yeah, but so the question is, what I mean by is where would you call, so you write it and rewrite and we'll, or not rewrite it, the endpoint, then that is exactly what the functions,
I would personally put it, because it's a functionality thing,
yeah.
your site, I would put it in like a small utility plugin or something like that.
Okay, so say it's a plugin, so then in the plugin, are you also going to put in there the lookup for the WordPress user, if it is a WordPress user?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think from a development standpoint, I think it makes more sense to put it, sort of, that part of it, the display piece, maybe in your theme. You know, you could easily use, like when we catch in template redirect here, you could hook in and say, do action, whatever it is, and then pass whatever variables you wanted. So if it was like you could say, you could pass that as one of the parameters and check for it. I think basically the way it works would be if you have go blog and then slash something, I think it basically sets that equal. I may be wrong about that, but I think that's how it works. So if you had, you know, go-blog / 296, like I think that ID would be catchable the same way. So you could grab that then, or your username or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And then that way you could catch that user's ID, put it in the cookie, and then use it wherever you needed to use it. Yeah. Anybody else?
The code that you have?
Yes.
Do you post that on GitHub or something?
No, I will. I will for sure. I think we'll probably put that next to it. What's that?
I would like to look at that in more detail.
Yeah, and actually, like I said, I commented this up pretty well, but up here, this is the GitHub gist where I got most of the code from, and then this is the URL for that blog post. And there's also, if you have a professional WordPress plugin development book, it's in the book, which I didn't realize until I looked for it. But those are the pages for it too, 417 and 421. So those are there.
Thanks.
Okay. That's it. Unless anybody else has any questions? Yes?
What's your recommendation, you know, because I'm starting to recognize things and just, you know, starting to get into this environment.
Yeah.
It just seems like trying to put mercury into a vessel. How do you start to conceptualize what you want to do and what the approach should be to get there?
Yeah, that definitely takes some work. I mean, I think the more you can understand about WordPress's inner workings, I think it gives you more tools to sort of brainstorm off of. I think without that fundamental knowledge of WordPress, it's really hard to go, well, I just want to add this into here, you know, understand the work. It's one of those things where you kind of you have to have that understanding of how each request works, you know, within WordPress. And I think actions and filters are very, very, very fundamental things that you have to know in order to modify how WordPress works.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of times what happens for me is if I'm trying, and WordPress is actually really good about this. If I'm trying to do something and I can put it in the English language, a lot of times if you type it out and search for it within the WordPress core, you can find something that relates. And then it's kind of like the white rabbit, right? You just start going down that hole. But it really is kind of English driven, you know, so like if you need a title, to get a title, you know, and things like that. So, you know.
So far the biggest thing has been when I break something, I gotta fix it, so I got like membership sites where people are paying, so I'll like just dive in and see what's looking, you know, because it's pretty good about reporting error messages and such, you know, so you can find the line that's on and see what the thing is. But is there like a tutorial that you'd recommend or something, or like a primer of some sort?
I mean, how familiar are you with like PHP? Like,
I'm getting more and more as I, you know, basically am modifying plugins a little bit and dealing with Bob rewrite.
I think one of the best books, actually there's two books that I really recommend. If you like reading about technology, that kind of stuff. They're both by Rocks, that's the distributor, or the publisher, and one of them is actually this one, Professional WordPress Plugin Development. If you want to learn more about like WordPress plugins specifically, that's a really amazing book. Three like really great, well-respected authors. And the other one I would say is Professional WordPress, also by one of the same authors. That one's actually it's being or the version's being upped. It hasn't, I think that one's a few years old, so I think it's, I want to say it's WordPress 2.9, but a lot of the concepts still apply. The new one is being rewritten right now. But I mean, this one for a lot of stuff within like plugin development, that one's a really great book. The other one's just more general WordPress stuff. Yes.
So what led you to this? Like, what were you doing before to try to come up with something, and then you hit a brick wall and you said, you know what, there has to be a different way to do this?
Actually, I didn't have a solution for something else, and I wasn't looking for a new solution for it. When I read, I had always like heard about endpoints, and they always like really confused me. So when I saw the blog post on Make, it sort of really piqued my interest because you know, it sort of started off with it's really easy, you know what I mean? And so once I started getting into it, I mean, really there's only two things in here that relate to rewrites, and it's this function and how I hook in and catch that. That's like the core concept is it's so simple to have that kind of stuff. And like I said before, we inherited some code from another developer that didn't use WordPress. And so what they basically have is a file sitting in the root of the site that all links point to with some query variables appended to them. And it just, like, it's crazy. Like, it's written well from a PHP perspective, uses data objects and all sorts of crazy stuff, but it's just not WordPress. Like, and so in order to maintain that type of code, it's just, it doesn't, I don't touch it because it's just not what I do. So when I saw this, like, that was the first, like, my first thought was, okay, if I can get that file out of there, that's like one huge burden off the site. And one thing that I can start maintaining and building into the system. So it wasn't really that I was looking for something, it just kind of like timing kind of worked out where that blog post came up. And actually there's going to be, I think the guy who wrote it is, he said he's going to be writing more about the rewrite API. And more about documentation around it, because it's just one of those things that like a lot of people just don't get how the rewrite works, and totally that's me too. So I'm actually really excited about any further like posts like this, because that's a huge part of WordPress. Yeah.
Since I really still have no idea how to use it for, but what it reminds me of, and I have one clarification, maybe brothers that don't understand, this kind of reminds me of like Blair Williams' Pretty Little Pro, where it's just creating a custom URL and then say, okay, add this on the end of it to send it somewhere else. Is that pretty much what that is?
Blair's is different, but Blair's basically hooks into every request and checks for things. And if it matches, then it does whatever it does. So in that way, it's kind of the same, except for he's not predefining any endpoints. He's not adding them to your React rules. He's checking them sort of on the fly. So in that sense, they're
well, like maybe in the same sense of the word, instead of using his plugin and you always knew you wanted the letterbox of blog to always go to OCWP author name /to a blog.
Yeah.
Make that rewrite, always do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what I did here was, I mean, you could definitely use it. So instead of using EP_permalink, I could do EP_all. Catch all URLs and basically say whoever the author is of this post, like go to their blog. You know, always like you could automatically add a footer to every post, page, everything on your site that says, you know, go visit this author's blog, and it would do that. It would regress like that. Yeah. And then someone over here has a hand up. No. Okay. That's all I got. Unless there's any other questions.
Ready?
Well, I just a little bit about it.
Perfect.
I have one in my car, actually.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. All right.
I have one here.
Any more minutes and then we go.
Suzette Frank.
Alright, let me bring up the right thing here. I updated my buddy press install just for you guys.
Alright.
Bring it up and then we'll get it down. There should be like music at this time, I think.
No, it's very last for the round of applause.
Okay.
Interesting trivia while we're able to look up. You know the last two beats of the Symphony at the end of the Jeopardy song were added years later because it made the song actually 30 seconds and a song was supposed to be 31 seconds to be copyrighted. You just did that.
That is interesting.
You learn something in 3 seconds while we were sitting there and everybody.
How long?
He's not just up, but it has to be a copyrightable item to start with, and that just been at least 31 seconds. I don't know. That's fair. The two songs were added about 10 years after the first episode.
No, it doesn't look like it is.
And then, does anyone know the name of the song?
Maybe it needs to be screwed. It wasn't. Yes?
That's the actual name of
That's
the
the actual name of the
song.
song.
I don't know about that.
No, it doesn't seem to be doing anything here.
Oh well, what can we do?
We can leave the session without buddy screen.
Oh, if you wanna, if I can use your computer, pull it up that way.
Let me shut down my inappropriate content.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so now this part.
Yep.
Awesome. We will get there.
That's right.
It is.
Yeah. I like to think pause for me. There we go. That was better.
Dashboard. Let's go into plugins. So I don't know very much about Buddy Stream except for what I just learned about it, I'm afraid. But let me show you. Let's see, after you activate it, let's deactivate it first. So you just search for Buddy Stream in the repository and that will come up. There's no space in there, so if you look for a space, it will not come up. So activate that, and once you activate that, that brings up this menu on the left, Buddy Stream. And as far as I can tell, Buddy Stream works with Twitter, not Facebook, but Flickr, Last.fm, and I think there was one other one. YouTube, yeah, that's it. So what you would do is you would just go into Buddy Stream here, and then it will allow you to enable or disable whichever services you want to enable. And it looks like the way that this works is just using APIs, so you have to go into your developer side on all of these, except for YouTube. I haven't quite figured out how YouTube works, but the Twitter, I know you have to log on and actually apply for an API developer key. Last.fm is the same way, and Flickr also works with an API key. So it's really handy. There's actually, when you first activate the plugin, it goes through a little tour. Store tour. And it just goes through and it tells you what each of the tabs do. The main place that you're going to be going to is Power Central. And that's where you can enable or disable the different products, services on there. I thought that's what we were already at, the dashboard, but let's go to Power Central.
Looks like it was catching up to your...
Oh, it might have been. I might have been getting ahead of it. But it looks like it's very well documented. There's a lot of helpful hints that they plug in everywhere. Yeah, it still hasn't caught up to that. There it is. So it's just like a little checkbox that you can disable, and this is the tour that they tell you, that they're showing you. If you click next, it goes to the next tab. I think that might be too slow here. But basically, this is where you can go in. After you've enabled the services, whichever service you've enabled, you need to refresh this page, and then this will show up down here on the bottom left, and you can configure each one of those separately. But those will not show up until you've enabled it on this screen here, and then hit F5 or hit M5 or whatever it is to get there. And then what this does, I don't have anything plugged into it, but what it's supposed to do in theory is BuddyPress has an activity stream feature which allows you to see what's going on throughout the site. You can see who's friended who's just recently joined, people that have just recently joined different groups. And that's one of the default things that comes with BuddyPress. So what this Buddy Stream does is it actually allows you to have your Twitter, your Flickr cross-post to this feed that you see here once it's all configured. Right now it's just showing things that are within the site, but the Buddy Stream allows you to integrate those outside services. Did anyone have any questions about that? Nope? Okay. That's good then. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren? Yeah. What's a Mac? I don't know, what's a Mac? Where's the start button? Where's that? Wait for it. Lauren Mason. All right, a couple weeks ago, somebody asked me how to make a little testimonial tooltip, and so Steve and Jeff and other people are up there. They said some really good things about me. Yeah. Yes. So if we put your mouse over here, and put it over, it says Lauren is a freaking rock star. So you put your mouse over it. Nothing really fancy. I just created a little PHP file and put the pictures in there. It's not even calling Gravatar manually or anything. It's just jQuery tools and a little custom-made script. And where did I get all this? I copied it off of somebody else's site. All right, so how do I turn on the script on yours? Thank you, there it is. Mine's Safari, not Chrome. That's why it looks different. Hey. I use Chrome on mine. Shut the hell up. All right, so what did I do to make it work? Created the PHP file, just simple little HTML markup. To get the little tooltip to work, jQuery was already in WordPress, of course. I then used from Brandon and it was actually Jeffrey's brilliant how to hook in JavaScript stuff, and I've learned tremendously from there. And so I hooked in calling jQuery tools from their CDN, not even loading it manually. I called it from their CDN. I did run into a problem. I posted on the WordPress group. I didn't tag you on it. You did something about loading jQuery in the footer.
Yes.
Why?
You would, JavaScript is the slowest thing to load on your website.
Now, so what I did is I remember going through your tutorial of unhooking it, and then actually, I didn't hear what you said.
That's cool. I have the answer if you want.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead. Okay. JavaScripts are the slowest slowest thing to load anywhere, so you can't only load them one at a time from one source. So that's why you use different sources when you're loading jQuery from jQuery or Microsoft or Google. So you can load that and those at the same time. But if it's so slow, if you do it at the end, you can show the page and images and everything while it's still loading JavaScript. So it's appears to load faster too than a human, although it is the more functional at that point.
Ignore the errors at the top. That's a Genesis problem with 3.4.
What else?
Yeah. No, I don't think I created this one. So the reason why I was asking about that was because I actually tried to unhook jQuery and then tell it to load in the footer. But no matter what I did, when I look at the source is still at the top, or towards the top.
The caveat to what I said is sometimes you have to have that JavaScript in it before other things can happen. And WordPress is smart enough to know that, and jQuery is one of those everything else is dependent on it, so it's going to load that in first.
So no matter, even if I did it correctly and there's something else maybe catching it, telling it to load first.
Correct.
Okay. So there's the enqueue I did. Above that was I just didn't include a PHP file to make that file there.
blah, 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 deregister jQuery, call the register script from Google APIs. Ooh, special. And then there's calling jQuery tools. And at the end is my little custom JS script to make the tooltip work. That was all it was. Simple. Easy peasy. Any questions? No? Thank you. Have a nice day.
So one other thing though, just point out, so you're calling in jQuery Google API, you're calling in your jQuery tools, and your custom script is coming locally.
Yes.
So this is three sources, you can load all three of those at the same time, which is going to make the site load faster as well. So well done there.
Thank you. So if anybody wants to know what both of us are talking about, since I actually did all this from memory from your tutorial, find your slide share, post it on the group again.
Is it out there now?
Well, I don't know where it was. If it was a slide share, if it was off your site.
It's on slide share somewhere.
Okay. I'll find it. Because he doesn't want to do it, and doesn't want to help the rest of everybody else here. And since we're standing in front of you here, I'll ask a security question. So when you're logging into your WordPress dashboard, is that, when you're typing in the username and password, is that an encrypted section going across, even though it's not SSL? No. So if you're sitting on a public Wi-Fi, and somebody's evil as me is sniffing the network, your passwords are there. So is there any solution to that besides an SSL cert? But that means you have to go with a static IP and buy an SSL.
No, because your endpoint is not secure, so.
And most web now are providing, SSL without having to have the certificate, and it's their SSL.
It's their SSL.
Yeah.
Or you can just use Cloudflare. Cloudflare, your connection to your goes through Cloudflare. It's going to encrypt everything through SSL from you to Cloudflare. So everything it's basically, yeah.
Even though it's not an actual SSS call on the actual URL?
It doesn't matter, because your connection to Cloudflare was the one that's important to have encrypted, not the connection from, and you can make the connection from Cloudflare to the server SSL, but by default, Cloudflare turns on SSL between your connection and the server.
So my site's fine that I'm running W3 Total Cache connected to Cloudflare.
Well, if you have the setting turned on, you probably know.
It's not, as far as I know, it's not on by default, but you can turn it on. And basically the idea is that you connect to Cloudflare with HTTPS. So you connect to your site via HTTPS, and Cloudflare will say, oh, hey, I know what that is, import it, and turn it into tunnel.
It'll fix it for you.
I found it's a little janky sometimes, but if it works just for your admin and you're only there, then probably good enough.
All right, thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
It's a good thing this isn't an acronym-free zone. Like SMOC. All right, that's all we have on the agenda. No, there were lots of acronyms being thrown around. What else do we want to talk about tonight? Anything else? Jason spoke first. Answer? Let's. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, if you load up the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And you go to events.
Oh, there's an event coming up. My events. Oh, where's the events on the? There it is.
Oh, that's the event that Jason said he's sponsoring food for everybody.
No, not sponsoring food for everybody.
Yeah.
There's an event coming up.
That is it. So we're doing a
live stream. Yeah.
Wow, Jason on his own live stream. We're gonna go back in time. Freaking vortex. This is gonna cause a rift in the space-time continuum. All right, let's finish here. All right. So,
that's not his photo.
No. I'm like traditionally, I work for, normal businesses and stuff, work for other people and such, and with that comes, you get these really cool holidays, you get to take off, and you get to do all these really fun things. And one of the things that I miss a lot is company picnics. And a company picnic of one would be really lame.
And what I was thinking is a company picnic of a whole bunch of ones would be pretty awesome. And if all of you guys got together and we all got together and had a company picnic, then that would be, that'd be a great thing. So what we did is we set up a company picnic for Sunday, July 22nd. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your dog, bring your whatever, I don't care. There's a dog park, I guess, like right around the corner or something. I don't live in that area, so I don't know much about the area. Just we kind of voted, and people said this is a great park. Let's go check this out. So if you go to the OC WordPress group and then go look at the events, you can take a look at this. And we're kind of doing everything by a vote. So if you want to, tell us a little bit about something you want to bring, or hot dogs or drinks or whatever. We have all that information on here.
Jason, you gotta make it like cheesy and awkward, like a mock company.
Okay, my wife, I kid you not, my wife is making a banner that says company picnic. Like it says nothing else, just company picnic.
We need like an org chart to go off of.
Okay, here's one thing. Okay, we drink before, we drink after, all that stuff. We don't drink there. There's no drinking at this point. So I just need you to know that. Bring the solo cups if you do. Bring blue or something different.
So make sure you drive their hammer.
Right.
Are you aware that there's a concert in the adjacent park that day afterwards?
Okay. I don't know.
Okay, well, Ross and I talked about it because we're sitting next to you, we live there.
Yeah.
So you know this place very well. And Salt Creek, that's where you're planning on being, right? It's down there.
I suppose so, yeah.
Well, it's the ocean view there, and there's some big areas where you can get out of there early.
Yeah. So my plan is
at 3 o'clock. There's you go up the hill and under the tunnel, which was under Coast Highway.
Okay.
And you're on the other side, which is a bar. It's not even 1 mile. There's going to be a concert there. I don't know what band it is. They always have different bands in the summer. And it's going to be over there. So parking would be a premium because you've got the parking lot in the middle.
Right.
Salt Creek's down by the ocean, and then this other park's over there, and so.
Yeah,
I've been to this park before. It's cool.
I live 47 miles away from the park. So I literally live right at the corner of Orange County and LA County. So yeah, and I live in LA County. So for me to get there is going to be it's going to be fun. So
I would encourage anybody who comes early to come help save space because one person cannot do this.
if you guys know where the Ritz is like right there. It's that big blob right there. So yeah, one of the things I was thinking, and I don't know if you guys are interested or not, was like those cheesy games that you play at those things. So like the kind of like relay race, yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, something like that would be fun. And I'm bringing my kids. You guys totally bring your kids, wife, husband, whatever. Just bring everybody. It'd be fun.
Can we bring some random kids?
Yeah, sure. Right.
Yeah.
Will you be the boss and have to let you in?
That's what Les was talking about. I like that.
So do what? Oh, I'll be the designated boss? Okay, yeah, sure, why not?
Boss, that's all we do.
You have to kiss his ass all
Is there any questions or things that you think you should, you might want to bring or anything like that? I set up a Google Doc so you can take a look at that Google Doc and figure out if it's something that you want to bring or somebody else is bringing it. And I don't want a whole bunch of cases of soda to show up and there's no food or vice versa. So, anything else?
Great, boss.
Cool.
Hey, he deserves a round of applause for that.
Sunday morning, 4 a.m., my site was attacked.
Okay.
And it didn't get through either, which was kind of interesting. But I kind of put a few things in place prior to that. I didn't, and then when I found out a real attack, I was like, whoa, that's like 800 clicks in about an hour. from the Netherlands. But what I put in place that caught this just for...
It's that, right?
Yes, it is.
So
I get my phone has a ring for when I get an email, or tell me when it's an email from something called WordPress, which is they have a free version of this plugin, and they have a paid version.
Eric's a big fan of WordPress.
It's awesome. It keeps getting better. And basically, what interested me initially about it was how it would check every thing against the repository original files, and then it would bring it up on the screen where you can compare changes to decide if there's anything offensive being injected in anything. So I thought, and the paid version actually checks everything with the repository can find the repository. But what happened was it allows you to set how many clicks before it freaks out. And it won't do permanent IP blocking, which is kind of sad. And I've inquired if they're thinking of adding it, and I think they're going to put a module in. But I found a free plugin that's no longer in development, WP Ban, that was developed by some graduate student, and now he's abandoned it. And I would be very interested, because I'm just really first learning how to write. I have a bunch of things that I'd like this to do that it doesn't do yet, and I'm about to begin to start to figure out how to make it.
What does it not have that you don't want?
Okay, well, first off, the reason that I originally got it was I found that I was being crawled by a lot of Ukrainian, Russian, and Chinese crawlers. But I have a membership site, and I don't want to waste bandwidth with their crawlers. So I started to block countries. You got to be really careful because I block Swiss countries out because the Swiss country code is very similar to the Chinese country code, one CH, one CN, and CH is actually Switzerland. So, oh well, but I didn't have, they allow you in the plugin to put up a page that shows up when a country's blocked or something's blocked. So I added to that page, they allow you to customize it. Email me here with a screen grab of the page because I can set it up so it shows you the offensive IP that's attacking you. So then you can decide whether you want to put it on a whitelist within the plugin. But for some reason, and I have no clue why this is, there are a few that still slip through for China. I don't know how they do because when you do an IP check on them, they are clearly from CN or RU or US.
Why not just let WordPress do what it does?
Because it didn't do what it was supposed to do, and it will not permanently block them out. What I do when I find...
You will permanently block out, you just have to mark it. Or you said you could...
I like it why I don't because it doesn't allow you to block countries. I want to block entire countries where I don't have customers.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely... But I know there's no way to do it, but you can block IP ranges.
Right. Well, let me explain what I'm doing. So what I do is I scroll my who is online. I'll do that every day, and I have the flags, so I usually just scroll the flags and see the Chinese flag or the Ukrainian flag. When I find something, then there's this really new cool site, which I think I gave the link to on that little thing, where there's like a community of comparing IPs and typing in what you found and finding out what the heck it really is going on. So I put it in the far ring on the Netherlands. They got that little thing where you see ring OK. If you put an IP in there, it'll allow you to see everyone else in the .org that has also found a problem with it. So you get an immediate histography, and you get the range in the right. So what I've been doing is when I find anything offensive, I'll block the entire range out. And so what I do now, I've only had it up for 2 months, and I've got over 2,000 retries on things, ranges that I've blocked. So I can track what's going on. And I'm just putting this out here because, if there's a way to start to filter out at least some of it, it's really helpful. Now, the other thing WordPress does is it will do a malware scan test for you as well. So the only thing that I'm finding is between Backup Buddy and backing up every 24 hours, as well as WordPress doing the scans once or twice a day, as well as WP Ban allowing me to lock. Because what happened is, the reason WordPress found is because of the clicks, right? So the moment that I saw that behavior, I used to have it down to 5 clicks, but customers would make a mistake with a password or whatever. I started locking them out. So I just made it a little longer, 30 clicks. And, if they're within 5, you can set the range in which So 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then it's a block. So I'm just saying that there's no one tool out there to do all of this, and this is kind of how I made it together.
As a recommendation on that, can I just recommend again Cloudflare? Because I think for what you're trying to do, if you really want to ban by country, Cloudflare has a built-in tool for banning by country. And then you're banning on the DNS level instead of banning on the site level. Because all that traffic still hits your server. So it's not providing any bandwidth other than page loading. The traffic is still getting to your server, and it's just seeing a page that Cloudflare will block it on the DNS level, so it won't even be able to get to your server.
What is Cloudflare? I'm unfamiliar.
Cloudflare is a protection service that protects your site on a DNS level instead of on a server level. So basically what Cloudflare does is it checks all this traffic before it even gets to your server, whether it's allowed or not.
And you can do country code to just wildcard.
You can do a map, you can just click direct control, you can say, I don't want anything from Switzerland, and it will automatically ban.
Well, no, we want Switzerland.
Well, I'm just saying.
That's a good example. They really want
Let's put it this way. If I didn't have the host that I have for everything my sites now, I don't know why. I don't see a reason why you would use Cloudflare.
No, where do you host? Okay. And with Cloudflare, how expensive are they?
It's free, unless you want the really advanced features, and the really advanced features are, it's more like reporting every hour instead of every day. It's stuff that you don't necessarily.
I'm definitely going to add this as a way of thank you. That's awesome.
Even for the feature you're talking about, it's pretty simple.
You're also going to benefit a lot from their using a CDN as well.
Yeah.
So all of your images will be loaded off of the CDN.
Oh, great. And it's free. Excellent. I'm glad.
Sure. I think people will be interested in this just from the fact that I should have thought about mentioning this.
Since you wanted to go into it, just using WordPress.
I am, and it was actually recommended by the
I got more of those.
It's really cool.
So you think that's more than security?
Yeah, you know, I'm not using it for the scanning at all. I don't use it. I mean, it does it automatically, and I don't know if there's probably a way to turn it off. I'm using it for
Eric's second.
So we run sites of real estate websites, and so this site has like 100 and something sites on it, or 51 sites on this one, I guess. But I can run WordPress automatically on all my subsites without even the clients having to see it. So one of the coolest things I think personally is this feature right here, which it lets you see every traffic to every site that you have underneath you in real time. So there 4 seconds ago, it'll just scroll through every second or two. And show all traffic. So, for example, I can go in here and see all this stuff. So, for example, this person in France, this person is probably a real person because it's not looking like all their stuff. But I can go and see just humans or people that it thinks are humans, and this is where the banning comes into place. Because where you watch is like people that probably aren't humans, and I ban a lot of that traffic. So I can see registered users or people logging in. I may have this set off. I don't know. Yeah, I may have that set off. Crawlers, so I can see what crawlers, and this is one of the ways that I found out about a crawler called Majestic 12. So if you have a site that gets any traffic at all, there is this open source isn't the right word. It's distributed, I guess is probably the best word. Search engine called Majestic 12, and what it is individual users run the crawling engine on their own systems instead of running it on a centralized server system somewhere. So you get all this traffic from really weird locations.
Kind of like a study project.
Yes, exactly. Except it's crawling the entire internet all the time, right? So, but it's weird traffic from weird locations, and it crushes your server, and no one knows what to do about it. Like we had at one point when we had a bunch of stuff on remotes, we were doing 3,000 requests a second to one site just from Majestic 12. Yes. So. Anyway, like I would watch that stuff. Like for example, one of the things I found out is
there's a place called Jamaica in the United States somewhere. That's where Bing's servers are located. So I can make sure to pass all that traffic through, etc. But I can also see something that's really interesting on my entire network. It'll show me who's hitting 404 pages a lot. So if there's, I think I banned this, because we host real estate data on our site. There's a lot of people that go and scrape all the real estate listings off of our sites. And so we have to ban a lot of that stuff because they'll just scrape it and put it on their own websites. So I found there's all these Amazon servers and was banning all of that stuff. But what I wanted to show you was, I can go to blocked IPs. And it'll show me everybody that's blocked from accessing the site, okay? So, and one of the most interesting things is all these people that are doing shady stuff are saying that their browser is Googlebot. So if they're pretending to be Google, and one of the cool things that WordPress has built in is it will scan, and by IP, it knows who should be Google and who isn't Google. And so it will automatically say, oh, this is a fake Google crawler. And I've set the system to automatically block anybody who says they're Google and isn't Google. Yes, class.
When you say automatically, like where do you make these settings?
I will show you that right now.
And also where's the permanent setting as well?
Okay, so here's the settings page. And so I have it set right now probably, if you have a larger site, I would set most of these alerts to be off in general, other than for the first 24 hours just to see what's going on. Because I will tell you, I probably get 80 to 100 messages a day just from this network still, but I wanted to monitor it because I knew we were getting hit by something and I wanted to know what it was. So it went from where I was getting probably 110 to 150 bans a day to where I'm down in 50 range now because of those original ones. So I have it set to send me an email anytime one of these things happens. So if an IP address is blocked, if somebody gets blocked out from logging in, if somebody tries to reset their password, so that's one way that a lot of people, if you're not familiar, try to hack WordPress is they'll just do a brute force attack and just guess as many passwords as they possibly can. And if you don't have that turned off, they'll just keep guessing until they get one right and they'll log into your network. And especially if you have a network where you have 300 users, somebody has a bad password, right? So they'll figure it out some way. In this case, do I want to see live traffic? I have it automatically set to not show my traffic in there because I'm the admin user. I should probably turn this off because this is the scanning thing. If you are on WP Engine, they're doing this for you automatically, so I'm actually going to turn this off. I forgot I had that on. But if you're not on a host that does automated security scanning for you, you'll want to have that on. Then that's what it's scanning for. So it's scanning for all sorts of things that people do to your site. So a lot of this would have found almost all of the Tim Thumb exploits that could have been done. That a lot of people had problems with. It will actually check for things that are out of date too and send you an email if you have something that probably needs to be updated. So that's really nice. But then here's the big firewall kind of settings system that you were talking about. So I have it set to turn on firewall, so it's going to track everything that's coming in. And so first of all, if it's a Google crawler, what should we do? So anybody that's a verified Google crawler, so if it's in the set of approved IP address ranges and approved locations of where their server should be located at, I have it set to say, we'll let you do whatever you want to do. So Google can go through the site and do whatever they want to do. If any single site other than Google tries to access more than 960 pages per minute or 16 per second, then I have it set to throttle that traffic. If a crawler's page view, so now if we know it's a crawler, so let's say it's Bing, I'm letting Bing see 960 pages a minute. Now here's the big thing that we kind of have issues with. So if a crawler sees 404, so many 404 pages, so what do you want to do with it then? If human page view, and this is another big one, so this is where these, like Majestic 12 comes through as an actual human instead of a person because it's distributed, or you get the exploit people looking for exploits on your site, they'll come through that way if they're not looking for standard exploits. Human 404s. Now here's the big one. So if it's a 404 for a vulnerable URL, so for example, if somebody's looking for the Tim Thumb page on your site, or if somebody is, I've been getting a lot of these, does anybody know what this is? It's website.com/ and then a brace and then path. put into it. Has anybody seen that? I don't know what that exploit is, but I've been seeing a lot of foreign people going after that. And then there's a whole bunch of other plugins that are well known to be have exploits that you can use inside of them. So it keeps track of all that, and if you try to go to that page, it will automatically do things. So I have it set to if you try to access more than 3 minutes, then I'm just going to ban you. And then how long is an IP address ban? So I have it set to 5 days. It's not automatically permanent. So I'll go back to, give me just a second, I'll go back and I'll show you how to permanently ban. So login security. So if somebody attempts 5 times to put in a password and doesn't get it right, I lock them out for 10 minutes. So that means they can only do 5, and then they have to wait 10 minutes, and then do another 5, and then do another 5. And generally, because of the security, it's like, why rob a bank that has an army in front of it when you can rob a bank that has nobody in front of it, right? So that's kind of the principle here, is if I lock them out for 10 minutes and it's a customer, we just tell customers, try again in 10 minutes, you know. And then there's some other jazz down here, but it's not that important. So blocking permanently, there's a little button on every IP address. It says make permanent. So this person, let's see here. I am going to, I guess, let's ban the Brazilian. Ban. So now if that person tries to go back to the site, they will get a 404 error when they try to visit the site. And one of the things to pay attention to is over here is how many blocked pages. When I first turned on WordPress, I was having, I had one IP that was hitting tens of thousands of blocked pages. So, and you can see how it's gone down since then. This page used to be forever long, just with 1 day of blocked IP addresses. And then I can see who's locked out. So if a client calls into us and says, hey, I'm locked out, I can unlock them out. Or I can see anybody that's been throttled. So here's all the people that have been throttled. So these are the ones that I would pay attention to because they're likely people that are probably doing something wrong. So
to answer his question, he was thinking also of a range of IPs. What's the manually block IP?
Yeah. If I type it in there, I think if I do like 1 and 2.
I don't think it's a range shit either.
I think it does. Well, let me do that. I think I read in the.
So that might be your range problem.
But Mark said that he's working on some more greater IP stuff. So this is, and he's been coming out with revisions in the last week.
I was just saying, in a month, they've probably gone through 5 different revisions, including one that significantly decreased the server load and the database load.
And the cron errors.
Yes. Wes?
So it sounds like you're implementing this on every site that you go on.
Pretty much.
It's a regular
It was, and no, I would have never known about it if it wasn't for the VP Engine guys. They, I asked them, I said, I'm seeing some traffic, we're getting 404 errors to things that are obvious exploits. What can you recommend for doing that? Is there any way you can ban that on the server level? And they said we can, and we definitely monitor for that kind of stuff. However, if you want to look on your local level and try to do something really proactively about it, this is the best thing you can possibly use. And so we've put it on every network and every site. And we finally just moved our last site over to VP Engine this past week. And so literally WordPress is running on every single site we have.
So how are you handling before you use?
I'm sorry?
How are you handling before you saw this plug?
Cloudflare. Everything I did was on Cloudflare. So that was my way of trying to prevent a lot of this. Cloudflare?
Still using Cloudflare with VP?
No. Yeah. There's really no reason, because they're doing all the CDN stuff. And if anybody's
in addition to WordPress, it's the country thing to be able to actually take out country.
Okay, so but to speak of that, it's been a while since I've done this, but I think it's threat control. And then if I put in, where is this? Here. Shine. There we go. There it is. Bam. Block.
Nice.
Done.
See you.
I guess that's where I'm going tonight.
Cloudflare is one of those things that I could not. First of all, I'm shocked that it's free for so much stuff that they offer. There's so much amazing stuff inside this, and so one of the things that we started using it for was clients. We wanted clients to have access in their GoDaddy account to all of their URLs, or to their domain names, I mean. And so what we did was we just said, well, we'll use Cloudflare as the DNS, so point your name servers to Cloudflare, and then we can do whatever we want to do whenever we want to, right? So I can just go in here, and in 2 seconds I can change any and set up any DNS settings that I need to for a client, and do whatever I need to do. So this is pretty cool. And then all I did when we moved everything off was orange means Cloudflare is protecting, gray means it's not. So in one click I can do whatever I need to do. And then, let's see, this is probably going to be old because I have turned this off. But
And you install separately on each side, or does this actually just take each side and it becomes part of your?
It's not something, I mean, there's a Cloudflare plugin that you can install for WordPress that does some things to make sure everything works correctly. However, all this is done on before you get to the server, so it's all on the DNS level. So as the traffic is finding the server of where to go to, all of that traffic passes through Cloudflare servers, and they sanitize that traffic and then send you the sanitized traffic.
So how does
yeah, exactly. So you make your name servers like, whatever .cloudflare.com.
So you're using their name servers, and then you're telling them the name servers where it's got to end up?
You say A records, CNN records of sending the traffic. It's pretty, there's a video, they have lots of, actually, if you go, I'll show you for example. If you set up a thing, so if I go, Okay, so if I go and set up a new domain on here, it's going to scan our records, and it's going to try to do as much as it can for me.
Yeah,
so
out the DNS records for you.
This is new. There's usually a video they used to play here. There would be a little video and it showed you how to do everything that you were supposed to do, but it will go to your DNS records and literally just copy everything for you, and then say, okay, we think we've copied everything over, make sure this all matches up. And if it does, then change your name servers to these name servers, and then everything works.
Oh, man, awesome, done.
This is one of those, like, I don't know why you wouldn't use it.
Yeah, using W3 total clock cache, there's a setting that
it works together. So, I don't know, I think, one thing, if you don't know about Cloudflare, I guess I'll show you one thing real quick, too. So it's got all these little apps that are built in, too, that run on the DNS level instead of running on the server level. So, for example, if you want to say to people that go to your website, hey, maybe IE6 is not what you should be using, there's an app that runs for you that does that. There's an app that will run and automatically goes all of your JavaScript libraries out somewhere else. A bunch of this stuff is just security monitoring.
How do they do it for free?
There's Google Analytics. I think they're working on the big data model, which is let's sell what we know about 10 million websites across the country to security companies and all that other stuff. So if you're on the freebie, that's probably how they're making it. But there's huge companies that are using Cloudflare as their method. So, but there's all these really cool little things that you can put in here.
You're using this as well as WP scan.
I do not use this anymore. When we switched to WP Engine, a lot of the stuff that WP Engine does is kind of the same thing. It's redundant. So I chose to dump the Cloudflare stuff. Just use their systems for what they were doing for security monitoring. But I use the biggest thing that I use WordPress for is basically the IP banning and monitoring for stuff that happened. I guarantee you, just from the time I've been standing up here right now, I have an email, at least one email from WordPress saying somebody's been banned. I need to turn it off. It's getting really annoying. But I learned something from it that I didn't know before, and that is even my smallest website that gets 10 to 20 uniques a day is still getting, on a daily basis, people trying to attack it. I don't care what the site is. They're all getting attacked. So, any other questions on that?
No, but thank you so much. This is just awesome.
Sorry to hijack.
For those of you who aren't familiar, we drink both during and after the meeting, so we will reconvene at the House of Brews in Huntington Harbor. I apologize, this is the first night at the House of Brews I can't be there. I've got actually a prior engagement tonight, so this is the first one I'm not going to make, but you guys are planning out. You guys are welcome to go hang out, drink. I'll be there in spirit. And then we'll be back here for the general meetup in 2 weeks. And we'll see everybody there.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah.